What's going on, everybody? It's Sasha, your licensed real estate market expert. It's time for our not monthly anymore. I used to do these lives once a month, but now this new year I'm trying to do something a little bit different. So I'll be doing it once a quarter. I just feel like that way, maybe we'll have more people on, maybe get a little bit more value. But if you're somebody that likes me doing it once a month, feel free to leave me a comment down below and let me know. I can definitely start doing it once a month again. I just want to see how, once a quarter. So the next one we do is going to be in June. But again, for anybody that's on here, any and all questions, welcome. We're in the new house now, so just a heads up, if you hear my dog start barking like crazy, we have so many windows around this house. All she does is just lay down and look out the window. Then she'll go upstairs to get an aerial view. Our townhouse before, we were an interior unit. So we weren't an end unit. So all we had was windows in the front and then windows in the back. So she couldn't really see much, but now she is absolutely all over the place. But yeah, any and all questions you guys have, just let me know. A couple things I want to let you know right now. Right now, even if you search this address, you will not find it. I have a new listing coming to the market in Ballantyne. It is a gorgeous, newer construction townhouse, 3-bedroom, 2.5 bathroom, 2,100 square feet in the heart of Ballantyne. You are not even 5 minutes away from Stonecrest Shopping Center, 5 minutes away from the bowl at Ballantyne. So this townhouse is going to hit the market next Friday, and I'll be doing an open house that following Saturday. The following Saturday will be the 15th. So the house is actually going to hit the market Friday the 14th, available for showings, and I'll be doing the open house on Saturday. So if you want to, number one, come take a look at the townhouse. Number two, meet me in person, talk to me in person, whatever the case is. Come, feel free to show up to the open house on Saturday the 15th. Price-wise, we're going to be within that $575 range. And I mean, this area it's amazing. The townhouse is amazing. I'm very excited to show it to you. And I'll have a video coming out early next week showing you guys the townhouse and the information on that. But if you're somebody that might be interested, reach out to me. You guys always know all my information is right here. You can always call, text, or email me anytime. And like most times, a lot of these houses that I end up listing, a lot of the clients that I currently have, I start letting them know weeks in advance, sometimes even months in advance. If I know one of my clients is going to sell in the next 3 months or so, I ask them, hey, is it okay if I start letting people know that it might be available in the coming months, just in case we have any potential interest and we can make something kind of work off market. But with that being said, right now, I don't know. Last week, I have no idea what happened. If you guys are in Charlotte, you know the weather's starting to break now. So we're having like nice days, 60, 70 plus degree days. The sun's been shining almost nonstop, a little bit of rain here and there. But for the most part, the weather's been so nice and the buyers are starting to flock out of nowhere. Last week, my clients wanted to see 5 houses, I believe, and we went to go see them Sunday morning, and there was only 2 left that we can actually look at, and one of the ones had a deadline that Sunday at 3 p.m. because they had multiple offers. So planned on looking at 5 houses. By the time Sunday rolled around, 3 of them were already under contract, and then the 4th one had multiple offers and they were due by 3 p.m. that day. And these are within houses of $450,000 to $575,000. They're within that range. So it was just very interesting to see. We do have the houses getting the multiple offers, but for some reason last weekend, things were just flying off the shelf. And I don't know if the weather has something to do with it. We're starting to see the interest rates trickle down a little bit. Right now, the last I read, we're at like 6.6, 6.7. Obviously, it varies on a multitude of different factors, but it's going to be interesting. I think right now, we're going to see the market definitely pick up. Obviously, the price ranges and things like that vary, but it's definitely interesting. Here we go. We got Jordan. I currently live in Mooresville, but have a terrible commute to South End. Are there good neighborhoods to live near South End if we're looking for a single family home? Jordan, great question. What's the price range you're kind of looking at? That's going to give me the best kind of idea in regards to where you'd like to be. But if you're Mooresville's great, but if you're having to commute to South End a lot, I can see why it's pretty rough. 77 isn't that bad, but during the peak hours, it's rough out there. But let me know kind of a price point you're looking at. But in all honesty, 600 to 800,000, you got so many options. You honestly have so many options. You can even if you're kind of in the North Charlotte area, 28269 zip code, you can be in pretty good shape. And within that 600 to 800,000, I mean, you can get a 4, 5, 6 bedroom house, close to 3,000 square feet, if not more, in that area. I don't know what you think of kind of South Charlotte. Plenty of options in Matthews, plenty of options in the 28270 zip code. You can do 28226 right there, kind of Carmel. And depending on what you're looking for as far as age of the home, condition, and things like that, you can be close to South Park, So if you're in South Park, if you're in that 28270 zip code, if you're, in Matthews and things like that, getting to South End, depending on exactly where you are, is going to be about 10 to 20 minutes. So it'll definitely help out with your commute. But 600 to 800, definitely check out the 28270 zip code. One of my favorite zip codes in Charlotte. Plenty of amazing houses depending on what type of style you're looking for, size, move-in ready condition, and everything like that. But you have a lot of options. Of course, if you have any specific questions, shoot me a text message, send me an email. I don't know if you're already working with an agent or not, but love to help you out with some specific neighborhoods. If you're interested, and maybe talk a little bit more about, the exact criteria, get in a little bit more detail. But I appreciate the question, man. If you have anything else, just let me know. Let's see. Daryl commented, this was on my last video, on the Steel Creek video. I work at the post office in Charlotte. 28273 zip code is called Arrowwood, and 28278 is the Steel Creek zip code. So in regards to, labeling, naming areas and things like that, I try to break it down in the easiest possible terms, because a lot of people that watch the videos, they're relocating from another state and they don't necessarily know Charlotte, So when I look at Charlotte, when you're looking at the 485 loop, I break it down: North Charlotte, West Charlotte, East Charlotte, South Charlotte. Because when you're looking at it on a map, you can kind of easily see 4 different parts or areas. So I know certain areas have a, hey, this is latitude and longitude, that's actually southeast, or whatever the case is. I break it down in the most simple terms as I possibly can so everybody understands. I know when I was moving here, it's so difficult because you know nothing about the area and you're trying to just get a grasp. So I try to just make it in the simplest and easiest terms as possible so people can look on a map and just say, oh, that's relatively, around this area. Kane said, I'm holding out to see how the River District turns out. New community in 28278 looks interesting. The River District, once it gets done, it's going to be absolutely amazing. I think the whole project, to be from start, which they've already started construction, they've already started clearing the trees and they're starting to build. It's not going to be done for like 8 to 10 years. So it's going to be a little while, but they're going to do things in phases. I believe the first phase they do is going to be rental. So they're going to have some rentals that are going to be townhouses and rentals and single family homes. And then they're going to start to, start having those houses to be built. And then they're actually going to start selling those. But yeah, the River District's going to be, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be one of those gigantic master plan communities that's going to gain a lot of traction, and it's going to have a lot of activity in it. Are there no HOA houses in 28277 that are in the $600,000 range? That's a good question. You are not the only one to ask me this. So many people ask me about areas and neighborhoods without HOAs. 28277, you're kind of considered that Ballantyne area. So it's tough. It's 90% or so is going to have HOAs, and then 10% are not. So yes, it's possible, but it's definitely harder to come by to find a neighborhood in 28277 without an HOA. The biggest thing I kind of ask people when they ask me that question in regards to HOA is, what's a reason that you don't want an HOA? Some people think that the HOAs, that all HOAs are too strict. They're going to be knocking on your door every other month and telling you to do something or upkeep your house and things like that. In reality, that's not really the case. HOAs, for the most part, they're a good thing because they're there to protect the home values of the neighborhood. So, they don't want people parking cars on the grass. They don't want someone's window to get broken and then them just to board it up for 2-3 months before they get it replaced. Like I said, they're more often than not, HOAs are really good because they preserve the home values in the neighborhood. Now, there are some that are a lot more strict. The ones that are strict, they tend to be in like the townhouse communities or where you have a mix of townhouses and single family homes. Those are the ones where, especially the townhouses, sometimes they won't even let you paint your door, things like that, let alone painting the house or, trying to park an RV or something like that. But for the most part, 90% of places are going to have an HOA. Every community is going to be different on how lenient they are. One of the things I recommend, if you're looking into a 277, if you're driving around neighborhoods, look at what other people in the neighborhood are doing. If you're curious about, hey, what type of fence can I put up here? Drive around or even walk around the neighborhood and look, oh, this person has a 6-foot tall wooden privacy fence. This person has a black aluminum fence. This person, they have the white plastic fence. That can kind of give you an idea of how lenient they are on what you can have. This person has an RV parked, towards the back of the driveway, or they have a boat parked somewhere over there. So all these different things, are going to give you a lot more insight to the HOA. So definitely drive around a community that you're interested in and see what the neighbors are doing, because that's going to give you a good idea of what you can do. But for the most part, HOAs are not going to be jumping down your throat about certain things. All they care about is that whatever you're doing looks good at the end of the day. But yeah, 90% will have an HOA, unfortunately, but there are some in the Ballantyne area that don't. Robert, what are your thoughts on Enderly Park? Enderly Park is a fascinating area. When I first got into real estate towards the tail end of 2017, I helped a couple people buy houses over there as an investment properties because they saw, where the area was heading. And now those houses that they bought, 2017, 18, and 19 are doing amazing. I like the area. A ton of growth happening over there, and even around there, you're starting to see them. They're starting to build like apartments and condos that are really nice over there in the area. But I think the values over there are going to continue to go up because things are just changing and changing. Every time, every couple of months or so, anytime I'm over there in Enderly Park, I see houses being knocked down. They're building these, they're like essentially duplexes, but they're two townhouses right next to each other, which they're essentially almost like single family homes. They have a backyard, you just share one wall. But I'm seeing a lot of activity in Enderly Park, and I personally like it. Depending on what you're planning on doing there, if you're an investor, if you're looking to live there yourself, that's going to be a different comfort level thing. There's certain people and things like that have families and kids, and you might not feel comfortable in Enderly Park just because there's still a lot of activity going around in the area. You are right outside of Uptown, so more population. You still do have the crime rates and things like that are higher than some of the outskirts. But for the most part, the people that I helped, purchase houses in and around Enderly Park, they were investors, and they tend to be younger people. So people that can kind of, don't mind being in a neighborhood that is kind of going through a transition. But all in all, I personally like it. I think it's definitely a cool area, and it's an area that's going to continue to grow and expand. So I hope that kind of answers your question there. I'm curious, are you looking to buy for yourself maybe over there as an investment? Okay, Cards commented buying. Yeah, if you're looking to buy for yourself, like I said, it depends on your comfort level. For me personally, I would personally live there. My wife, that's kind of a different story. I was looking at a neighborhood in the Oakhurst area, which is kind of, it's a mix. You know, you got those small brick style houses that are 3 bedroom, 1 bath that are like 1,100 square feet or so. And when we were over there, my wife was like, I don't like this area at all. Even though you had a mix with like the nice new construction houses that are selling $600,000 to $700,000. She didn't like it, but for me personally, I did. So yeah, if you're thinking about it for yourself, like I said, just depends on your kind of comfort level, you know, with the neighborhood. Just know there's a lot of activity happening there. Cards. For neighborhoods that don't have an HOA, do you think a UDO is a consideration over the next 5 years or so? I know duplexes, triplexes haven't really kicked off. So this is a conversation that's happening all over the US because as housing has been so unaffordable for a lot of people, not just in Charlotte, especially places like California, places like Seattle and things like that, we're going to be seeing, the detached additional dwelling units and attached additional dwelling units start to pick up. Right now, you can build an additional dwelling unit on your property as long as it's zoned correctly. So if you reach out to the city, you're able to do so. Now, obviously, the biggest thing with that is kind of the cost and the expense that goes with it. When you're building those, additional dwelling units, the detached additional dwelling units, you're looking at, depending on the quality of what you're trying to do, you're probably looking at $150 to $200 per square foot. So if you're kind of doing the math there, how much it would cost to build one of those units. But I'm seeing it a lot, Plaza Midwood, Noda. I'm seeing some here in the South Park area where people are building them, or they're building kind of the additional dwelling unit on top of the garage. Some people are using it as short-term rentals, and some people are going to be using them as long-term rentals. One of my clients actually has one above his garage, and he's in the Matthews area, and he rents out to traveling nurses and people that work kind of in the hospital. So he rents out typically between 3 to 6 months, and he makes pretty good income off of that. So this is going to start to pick up, tremendously here in the next couple years, and we'll see how it goes with the Charlotte market, where the prices are going. But at the end of the day, people are going to need more affordable housing. So if people start building these 1,000 square foot to 1,500 square foot additional dwelling units, it's going to be a game changer for the city. How do you handle an out of MLS transaction? Who do you represent, or would you simply enable both sides neutrally for the same commission? Let me read that one more time. How do you handle an out of MLS transaction? Who do you represent, or would you simply enable both sides neutrally for the same commission? I'm keen to do out of market. The buyer waited on alternative offers for days after my offer. Gives me a heart attack. So it depends. If you're doing an off-market transaction, typically the seller is open to paying, a buyer's agent commission. So you can honestly do kind of two ways. What I've done in the past is there's a document that we have. It's an unrepresented seller document. So essentially it's saying, hey, this seller is not represented by a real estate agent, but the buyer is represented by a real estate agent. Now, in that case, for me specifically, I would only be working with the buyer, but obviously I have to work with the seller as well, because there's a lot of documents that they don't know about, such as the disclosures, and we need to make sure that if the offer is accepted, that they're allowing you to do home inspections within a timely manner, allowing you access to the property to get it to the closing line. So there's a bunch of different ways you can handle it. But at the end of the day, you're kind of doing, two jobs. The only difference is, me, if I'm representing you, if you're buying the house, I'm looking out for your best interest. So I know what I need to do on my end with the seller. It's just kind of getting them to comply with the rules, because when you're dealing with houses off market, sellers have an obligation, and the seller's agent typically has an obligation to disclose things. So if I walk into a house that a seller, wants to sell, and I can visibly see that there's certain damage on the house, whether it be structural, whether it be mold, whether it be a leaking issue or something like that, it's my duty to say, hey, I noticed you got this kind of issue. I see the bricks kind of cracking over here. I see you got moisture coming in. There's a little bit of mold. And you have to disclose that, in that essence. When a seller is selling off market, it could be a little bit more tricky because essentially you want to think that people will tell you the truth about stuff, but sometimes they don't, unfortunately. So there's just a lot more due diligence when you're doing kind of these off-market sales. So if you have something like that and you're interested in letting me help you out, just let me know. I'll do everything I possibly can. And then in some instances, if you want, you represent both sides, which I don't necessarily like that, because at that point, you're just kind of the mediator. You can't really guide both sides the proper way, because at the end of the day, the seller wants the most amount of money for their house. They want like a hassle-free sale, and the buyer wants the best possible price. So you have these two sides going against each other. And when you're representing both, it's hard to kind of tell, one client one thing when it's not the best interest in another client. So I only represent one side when it comes to, any of those transactions, unless there's kind of certain situations that I've had before where it hasn't really been an issue. How many different kinds of assessments are there to check on the home condition, like air quality, structural quality, water quality? They're all provided by external. So in all honesty, generally when you're buying a home, you do a general home inspection, which is obviously inspecting everything with the house. You do a termite inspection, make sure that the house is free of any active termites, or if you had termites in the past, that it was treated and they're not coming back. And then you do a radon inspection, which is like this natural gas that's, here in the soil in North Carolina. Those are the three typical ones that everybody does. You can call other companies, to come out. They can test like the sewer lines. You can call structural engineers out there, if you want to, and things like that. But typically when you do a general home inspection, that'll give you more insight. If the general home inspection says, hey, or you're talking with the inspector after the inspection, they say, hey, it looks like you got some structural damage here. I'd recommend calling a structural engineer out there. Then from that point, you call a structural engineer, or you call kind of an expert. You call an electrician or something like that to look into the matter further. But structural engineers are very expensive. I have one. The last structural engineer report that I did, I believe it was $750 for a report. And then if you want them to like officially stamp the report, it's a little bit more. So you're probably looking at anywhere between $750 to like $1,200 or $1,250 for a structural engineer report. Now, it's definitely worth it, because obviously you're buying a house, and if you have structural concerns, getting them out there is just for your mental state is the smartest thing you can do. But there's some people that kind of go all out and hire all these different parties. But once you get a general home inspection, that general home inspection will tell you what other inspections you should do if not. For me personally, I've looked at so many houses. I've seen so many houses that when I'm walking through a house, I can tell you if there might be some underlying issues. I'm not a contractor, I'm not anything like that, but I've just seen so many houses, and I can point out a lot of stuff that I see that could be cause of concern. And the biggest benefit to that is because if you do see something that's a cause of concern before submitting an offer, you know what type of offer to submit. If you think a house has, a mold issue, and you go in the crawl space, for example, start shining your flashlight, and you see it has maybe a little bit of mold, that can be remediated. Now, if you go down there and all of the floor joists are molded out, rotted out, there's termite damage, based off of that, you already know before you even do an inspection, there's a 99% chance that you're going to have a lot of stuff go wrong. So what you do in that instance is obviously your offer price, you need to evaluate that cost within the offer. And most importantly, your due diligence money. Because if you put down a $10,000 non-refundable deposit and then you find this issue with the inspector and then you go back to the seller and say, hey, we found this issue. It's going to cost us, $12,000 to fix. We want you to fix it, or we want you to give us a credit. And then the seller says, no, I'm good. I'm not doing any of that stuff. Then if you back out of the house, you lost your due diligence, you lost your non-refundable deposit. So a lot of my, investors and things like that are going into these houses that are beat up, that they know need a lot of work, their due diligence, their non-refundable deposit is not going to be high because there's a high likelihood that there's going to be some, potential major issues that they can't see right now. But once somebody starts crawling in the attic, crawling in the crawl space, it'll tell you a little bit more. Is the seller obligated to disclose inspection reports obtained prior to my interested expression? So this is a common thing, if the house is listed on the market, if they have a seller's agent and the seller is aware of what's going on with the house and the seller's agent, the listing agent, is aware, they have an obligation to disclose to the public what's going on with the house. If you're just dealing with a seller, they don't have an obligation. They don't have an obligation to share the inspection report with you or anything like that. So most of the time, unless somebody's trying to hide something, they'll share maybe the report with you and things like that. But if you're just dealing with the seller, if you're doing an off-market thing, they are not obligated to share the report with you. And like I said, unfortunately, sometimes they just won't tell you what's going on with the house, even if they know about it. Now, again, if the seller is represented, if the seller has a seller's agent, a listing agent, and they know about it, it needs to be disclosed. That's why I tell people a lot of times when you run into a situation, more often than not, a seller's trying to sell, a buyer's trying to buy. If something comes up, you can typically work out a repair, you can typically work out a credit to get the work done after closing or whatever the case is. But you do have some instances where the seller doesn't want to do something. When they go back on the market with an agent, they typically have to disclose and let people know, hey, these are a couple issues that we found. If they got a quote, hey, this is going to cost $4,000 to remediate. And then, the next buyer can kind of come in and decide what they want to do based off of that information. Great questions. Great questions. Thank you so much for the clarity. Of course, really good questions. I can see you're definitely doing your due diligence, so I like that. But again, if as long as you have a good agent, whether representing you on the selling side or on the buying side, you're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. There's definitely ways to remediate things, and just taking a look at the disclosures of the house. How old are the major systems of the house? What's the roof? What's the HVAC? A big one that people don't think about is plumbing. What's the plumbing made out of? PEX, copper, plastic, and things like that. That's going to be the more normal. But if you run into a house that has PB or polybutylene piping or something like that, that could be a little bit scary depending on how it's done, because they tend to fail. And when that stuff fails, it's very costly. And a lot of times people have to replace the plumbing in the entire house. Houses that are built probably before the 70s and things like that, you want to get a third-party electrician to come out there. They want to make sure that the wires are grounded. They want to make sure that everything is up to speed, and the modern day electronics and all that can handle whatever electricity the current house has. So yeah, houses that are a little bit older, 70s and under and things like that, I always recommend somebody get a third-party electrician out there. You're always going to find something. It's just a guarantee. Even in my house here, my house was built in 83, and there was a couple little electrical things, but they were small things. And I all the inspection reports that I've seen over 100 inspection reports. A lot of inspection reports have a lot of the same stuff, on there. But yeah, definitely there's certain stuff that you want to check out in regards to what areas are the houses you're looking at, what age are the houses. And again, you guys know, if you follow the channel, I've talked about this before. We're seeing a lot of problems with insurance. And insurance is starting to take its toll on a lot of places like Florida. It's gonna start taking its toll here in North Carolina, because we just had the hurricane come through, kind of destroy Western North Carolina. Even though we're a little bit far from that, it's still gonna affect our home insurance. So there's a lot of home insurance companies out there. If the roof isn't within 15 years old, they won't even insure the house, which is kind of crazy, because roofs, you get a new roof, it should last you anywhere from 25 to 30 years or so. And the fact that some companies aren't even insuring roofs unless it's within 15 years is it's crazy. It doesn't even make sense. So it's, just do your due diligence, taking a look at the major systems, because that stuff is going to be costly. I'm an individual looking to buy. We'll be happy to connect sometime. Just that 6 to 8% commission is a drag. The buyer foots the bill in the end, right? No, I don't. This 6 to 8% commission, I don't. No, there's that seems way too much. I'm not sure kind of what you're looking at, but believe it or not, I've had people, when they're coming to sell the house, they're like, hey, I heard with the commissions, with everything included, it's like 8 to 10%. Then the rest I'll net. It's not like that. I can break down the entire costs for you essentially. Everybody's fees are different. My fees are going to be different than somebody else's fees, but we had the law changes happen in real estate and things like that. So things are a little bit different, but no, the 6 to 8% fees that you just mentioned, it sounds a little bit too high on that end. Mr. Petrov, saw a few short sales here. First ones in a while. It's starting. I've seen a couple too. I've seen a couple bank-owned short sales, and I've seen a couple houses in foreclosure. And then I've seen some estate sales too, but the estate sales, you never know what it is. It could be, somebody's family member passed away and they inherited a property and they're trying to sell it. But I've definitely seen some of those happening now. And every situation is kind of different. So it's hard to tell what's going on. But I've seen a couple of them, as opposed to like never, haven't seen one in like 5 years. Now we're starting to see a little bit more. So it's going to be interesting to see what takes place. A couple talks of recession talks and things like that are happening. So we'll kind of see. Right now the market is still moving. Some little slowdowns in that under $400,000 price range. Still seeing multiple offers happening. So it's all over the place nowadays. Cost of home plus listing agent plus seller agent plus buyer agent plus closing costs. No. So when you're buying a house and you're utilizing a realtor, that is your buyer's agent. So only when you're selling a house, listing agent and seller's agent are the same things. They're just two terms used interchangeably. So when you're buying a house, you use a buyer's agent to represent you as the buyer of a transaction. When you're selling the house, you have a seller's agent, a listing agent, which are the same thing, that represents you on the seller side. Closing costs, obviously, they vary. They're different for buyers and they're different for sellers. But 6 to 8%, that's too much on both sides, There's certain areas and things like that where you can get grants. My listing, 11818 Red Leaf Drive. It's in Charlotte, 28215 zip code. When you look at it on Google Maps, though, it shows up as Mint Hill because it's right there on the border. But this house actually, I'm talking to a lender now. It actually qualifies for up to $20,000 in down payment assistance. So we're starting to see a lot more of these programs starting to come up and starting to help people in regards to things like that. So you might be able to get involved in one of these programs. Like to work with you on a BOREO. Do you deal with REOs and CLT preferably? Yeah, so I do. It just depends. It just depends on the situation because some of these, the real estate owned ones are very different as far as how it's structured. But if you're looking to buy, the REO side is a lot tougher in 28277 because it is the Ballantine area. You know, people have kind of a misconception in regards to like, hey, this house is it's a foreclosure. It's bank owned. The bank is going to sell this house. A lot of people think that this house is worth $600,000 on the market because it's a real estate owned. It's owned by the bank. They're going to sell it for $350,000. That's not the case. The bank knows what asset they have. The bank knows, how much the home is worth. And more often than not, they list it at fair market value. So the only caveat to that is a lot of the houses they do have require work. So it's kind of like a catch-22. Sometimes you can find, these REO homes and that are a good deal, but it's tough, especially in these high demand areas like the 28277 zip code. But if you're looking to do something off market, I have access to off market properties. Last year, I helped one seller sell a house off market, and I helped 2 buyers buy off market. The goal for this year is to do at least 5 of those houses. So, reach out to me, send me an email. All my contact information is down below, and I can see how I can help you. I don't know if I have anything currently in Ballantine. I have a townhouse that's coming to the market next week. 3-bedroom, 2.5 bath, like new construction, 2,100 square feet, prime location. 5 minutes away from the bowl at Ballantine, 5 minutes away from the Piper Glen Shopping Center. And that one is going to be hitting the market in that 575 range, but it's amazing. I helped my clients buy it a couple years ago, and they updated the cabinets, they updated the countertops, they updated the floors. The fireplace is from floor to ceiling fireplace. And I mean, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. Copy, I'll reach out to you. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. I can't see that picture. It looks like a picture of a beach. But yeah, reach out to me anytime with any questions. And I'm curious to see, I got a couple sellers I'm working on. Like, if you guys know, I'm looking for some investment properties. If you, by chance, anybody watching this, or somebody that has a house that they're looking to sell, that's beat up, that needs to be renovated, they're looking for a cash offer or anything like that, reach out to me. I'd love to take a look at it and see if we can make something work. I'm hoping to build my investment portfolio. Now that we have, the new house here, I can focus on my investment stuff, which I'm very excited about and anxious about. Looking for single family residents with decent backyard for kids. Yeah, a lot of people are. That is usually one of the main things. It's almost always top 5, if not top 3, is people want like a nice usable backyard, and because of the way Charlotte is, because of our soil, the way the topography is and things like that, it's just a hit or miss. My yard here is sloping, but we just have a dog, no kids yet, so we'll see. But eventually we might add a little bit more soil just to make it a little bit more usable and things like that. But it's definitely one of the top 3, if not top 5 things that people are looking for, is that having a nice backyard for sure. Hoping to buy cash and repair within means. Definitely. You're in a good position. I have a couple people I'm working with that are, cash buyers and things like that. And it's great because number 1, you're not affected by the interest rates. Number 2, it's always, cash is king as far as negotiating goes. So being able to get a good price and things like that is a lot easier to do with cash because, sellers look at it like almost like a hassle-free sale. They don't have to worry about appraisals. And obviously they don't have to worry about, you being qualified enough to buy the house. So definitely when you're working a cash deal, and if you're okay with doing work, which is where the opportunity is, my wife and I, we just did our renovation. Over $60,000 worth of work we put into this house, and we have a good chunk of equity in it because we're able to. But a lot of buyers in the market and things like that, most people want move-in ready houses. They want turnkey houses, maybe paint, maybe a little bit of flooring, but for the most part, people just want to, grab their toothbrush, their mattresses, and put them in a house. So if you're somebody that's in a position where you're like, hey, I'm totally fine with renovating, I can do a light renovation, I can renovate a bathroom, I can do a couple little things like that, it puts you in a much better position than a lot of people out here, because, you know, a lot of people just want move-in ready. They don't want to put in that work, which I totally understand, because it took us 3 months to do our renovation on our house, and it's not the funnest thing. You know, I have a great relationship with my general contractor. I've been working with him ever since I started in real estate, but they have other jobs that they have to do and things like that. So me working, helping other buyers, helping other sellers, and then on top of that, having to kind of deal with the renovation, making sure, hey, these people are coming on this day, they're doing this, hey, we missed this, you know, having to pick out tile, having to do this, and I'm just glad it's over so I can kind of get back to normal. But yeah, it could be a headache, and especially if you're doing a big project that's going to take maybe 6 to 8 months or so, it can be a little bit tough. But cash and you're willing to work on a house, you can definitely find good deals here in the Charlotte area, without a doubt. D said home values are declining in every state. Not necessarily true. Unfortunately, you got to look at certain areas, certain cities and things like that. Charlotte, as far as our market, yes, we are down from our all-time highs. However, you know, the median price point is going to jump up. The average sales price is going to jump up as soon as we hit springtime, because all of this is, you know, seasonality. You know, things are going to change. They're going to go up and down. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens. You know, I'm sure you guys know, and I talked about it in my last market report, all the stuff going on with the tariffs. I'm curious to see how that's going to affect the market. But things are, you know, things are moving still relatively well. Drew, I live in 28206. Sorry, that went away. Drew, I live in 28206, corner of Statesville and Callahan Street, renting a single family home. A little sketchy area sometimes, but these new townhomes are on the market for $5 to $550. We'd like to buy around here, but it's just too high, I feel. So yeah, no, that's interesting. Townhomes for $5 or $550 over there in Statesville. My last client that I helped in Statesville, we got a new construction single family home. It was just under 2,000 square feet. Can't remember if it was a 3 or 4 bedroom house, but we got it for under $450. So I'm curious, kind of, you know, I might have to look that up, exactly where you are in Statesville. That sounds a little expensive, to be honest with you. I mean, for $500 to $550, I just mentioned I have a townhouse that's going to hit the market in Ballantyne. It's only 3 years old and it's amazing. And it's in Ballantyne. It's going to be listed in that 575 range. So, yeah, I gotta maybe look into that, you know, kind of what you're talking about. I'm curious. Kath, I just visited Charlotte last month when you had those snow days. That is hilarious. My brother lives in DC. He's a realtor, and he came to visit, and it was snowing, and I was so annoyed. And then after you probably left, but after the snow days, it was 60 degrees, 70 degrees, and sunny. You know, like it's going to be like it was today. Today's like 65 and sunny or something like that, and then Friday's going to be close to, or Saturday's going to be close to 70. But yeah, you know, it's always one of those things when you come visit Charlotte from somewhere, you're like expecting like the nicer weather and things like that. And of course you come during the snow days, but it happens. I'm sorry that happened to you, Kath. Amazing video. Thank you. Of course, Anna. I used to do these lives once a month. This year I'm going to do them once a quarter. And so far I like it. I mean, you got 13 people on here and you guys are asking some amazing questions. So, I'm very happy with that. But yeah, you never know what you're gonna get, and obviously Monday we had all that rain and it was windy, and Charlotte-Mecklenburg schools closed because of rain and wind, and then it turned out to be an amazing sunny day. So funny enough, it happens. But Drew, based off what you said, over there in the Statesville area for $500,000 or $550,000 for a townhouse, I agree with you. That seems way too high. That seems way too high. Like I said, I got a townhouse in Ballantyne coming on the market. And I mean, for 500, 550, you can buy a really, really nice townhome here in Charlotte in like our prime locations. So for it to be that expensive in Statesville, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what's going on over there, especially for the fact that you said it's a little bit sketchy. Kind of something's not right, unless they're like 5,000 square foot townhouses or something like that. But I don't think that's the case. But I was talking about kind of the stats here, and I'm going to go over this kind of with you. So this is kind of the market watch for the last 7 days for the Charlotte metro area. So this includes Mecklenburg County, Union County, Cabarrus County, Rowan County. Coming soon listings, meaning houses that will be hitting the market soon, 410. New listings, 1,654. 242 price increases. This is the interesting one. Price decreases, 1,649. That's 5 less than new listings that we had. 290 houses back on the market, 135 temporarily off the market, 555 under contract, plus another 892 under contract, 220 withdrawn, 1,370 closed, 264 expired. So you guys can see the price decreases are definitely happening. From my experience, listen, not everybody. You have sellers that are saying, hey, let's get this house sold. Let's put the listing price at a fair value, or let's list it aggressively. And you still have people that are just, hey, every house in my neighborhood sold for 600. I want 675,000. Okay, why do you want the extra 75? Well, because of unless you renovated the kitchen, the bathroom, or done something like that warrants that price, I'm not seeing it. So you're seeing a lot of people that are listing those houses for it's just not worth it, at the end of the day. That's why you're seeing the price decreases. They don't have a lot of showings within the first couple days, within the first couple weeks. They lower the price by 10, 15,000. They still don't have any more showings. They end up lowering it by another 10, 20,000. And this kind of is a cycle, that goes on. So I always tell people, depending on what your goal is, depending on how quickly you're trying to sell or your time frame, and things like that, you got to list it, accordingly. And how do you list it accordingly? Number one, you look at the comps. Number two, you take into consideration what the house has. If you have a newer roof, you updated the HVAC system. If you just poured a new driveway, you did this crazy outdoor pergola patio thing. That stuff is going to add value. So looking at the comps is one thing, and then going through the house, actually walking through the house, seeing what the updates were and things like that is going to give you the best valuation. But yes, you're 100% seeing still people list on the very high side, and then you're seeing them have to come down on price because they're just not getting the activity on the house that they want. RJ Spain, what's up, my friend? I hope you're doing good. Hi, Sasha. Have you talked about the real estate lawsuits? I still don't understand the reason for the suit. Seems to be a cash grab from the lawyers. Which lawsuit are you talking about now? There's so many lawsuits in real estate. There's another lawsuit happening with some of these like really big companies that are building these kind of rental townhouses, and essentially they're kind of being accused of putting a monopoly on the rent prices because, they're building them so they can kind of name their price, and then another company builds it and they kind of name their price. But there's so many lawsuits and everything like that going around. I pay attention to it here and there, but for the most part, I'm just focused on, what I need to do, because a lot of that stuff I can't control. But RJ, which lawsuit are you talking about? The lawsuit about commission. Okay, let's see. The lawsuit about commission. From what I know, that lawsuit is. From what I know, that lawsuit's over. NAR, National Association of Realtors, agreed to pay, but it was 100% a money grab. And now the people, the sellers, are now upset because I don't know what they were thinking, but they thought they were going to get a check for like millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars. They got a check for like $100 or something like that. And it was all for nothing, you know, and God, I can get into this like crazy if you guys want me to, but the one thing that I do not understand is the lawsuit was kind of predicated on price fixing. And the funniest thing about that is the attorneys that represent the lawsuit, these class action lawsuit attorneys, they have non-negotiable fees and they take like 30-40% of the case that they win. So if they win $100 million class action lawsuit, they take $30 to $40 million. And it's so funny because they made a case, you know, against price fixing and things not being negotiable. But the attorneys that are suing for that, their fees are not negotiable. So it's a whole thing. It's honestly ridiculous. It's a complete waste of time. Just ridiculous. Do you think the spring market is going to be dull for Charlotte this time? Honestly, no. Right now, in the beginning of the video, I was talking about some showings I had last week and how many houses went under contract just last weekend alone. And things are starting to pick up. It's so weird. As soon as the weather starts turning, as soon as the weather starts to get nice and things like that, people just come out of the woodwork. It's like, you know, people have hundreds of thousands of dollars, you know, laying around. As soon as the weather gets nice, it's like, hey, let's go buy a house. So no, from right now, from what I'm seeing, I'm already starting to see the market pick up. So I don't really see the spring and summer market being dull unless we have some economical factors and things like that start to happen. What's the legal compulsion for a buyer to list with MLS, and there's no alternative MLS in the Uber tech age? So a buyer doesn't list with a seller, list their house, you know, with MLS. The biggest thing with MLS is it's what the realtors use, you know, so it's the best possible platform because it's what the real estate agents use. And you have other, you know, you have the Zillows, you have the Redfins, you have the Realtor.com. There's a bunch of different websites somebody can, you know, list their house with. But at the end of the day, a lot of people use Zillow, but, you know, Zillow's not the most inaccurate. You know, their estimates are just all over the place. Sometimes, if they're dealing with something that's very easy, like a neighborhood full of new construction houses or something like that, it's very easy to calculate kind of a zestimate because that's where the computer can do the work because it knows, hey, all these houses were built in 2020, all the roofs are 2020, systems are 2020. It's very simple to do. But when, sorry, RJ, I had to use the Z word. But all the retail platforms fed from local. But yeah, you can use any of these other platforms. It's just MLS is what the realtors use. So it has a lot of the most stuff, and realtors are the people that have the most listings because they're helping the sellers. So they input it in MLS, and then from the MLS, it syndicates to all these other websites. Now, you can go on Zillow, and there's Zillow-owned homes and things like that, but there's just not enough. I mean, I can't remember how many. There's like 1.7 million realtors in the US, and they're the ones that are selling the houses. So the platform that they use to upload those houses is going to be where it's at, you know? Does NAR have exclusively? No, NAR doesn't, you know. I have access to off-market listings through my company that only agents at my company have access to. So no, NAR is not exclusive. You know, there's a bunch of different websites where you can find houses. The only problem is a lot of them can be scam. If you look up, you know, foreclosure homes for sale in Charlotte, you're going to find a website that has like 100 foreclosure houses. And then come to find out it's a lie. It's a scam for people to go to. Then they sell your information to some real estate companies, or they sell your information to these other big companies and things like that. So it's all over the place. It's, the MLS and NAR is kind of the most trusted when it comes to things like that. That's why it's used so many of the time. If you missed the beginning of the video, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna upload this video tomorrow. I'm just gonna kind of cut out the dull moments, the moments of me drinking water and stuff like that, and then I'll re-upload it. But any and all questions that you guys have, or if you want to reach out to me personally or text me, you got all my contact information down below. You're more than welcome to do so. But happy to help. A lot of great questions. I was excited about this live, and we still got a little bit of daylight, so I'm gonna go walk my dog here soon. But I'm very curious. So right now, today is the 6th. Yeah, today's the 6th. So the market report's actually gonna be out next week as well. So we're gonna have that market report out for you, and excited to see what the numbers are showing, but I think they're gonna be showing pretty good. Drew, thank you for doing this. I started watching you before we moved here in 2021. I appreciate it, Drew. I've been doing YouTube for a while. I've been doing it for, I think 5 years. I think I started in 2019, so 5-6 years now, which is kind of crazy, but I like doing it because it was a resource for me to help people, because when I moved here 11 years ago, I needed help. So I was just researching areas. I was going on all these different websites, but I never had somebody, or there wasn't a resource that would tell me, hey, what are the good areas? What are the good locations? Where should you look? Where should you not look? And it's interesting. I just had somebody the other week, they sent me like it was a crime map. Essentially, it shows like the crime rates in and around Charlotte. And they're like, hey, is this accurate? And I was looking at the map and I'm like, no, this is horrible. Like, what stats are they using for this? Like, Ballantyne was on there for like a bad crime rate. Like a part of Matthews, like near the downtown Matthews area, was on there. There was parts of like South End, which, it's more condensed. You do have crime and things like that there. But these are like, it was showing like some really nice areas on this crime map that I just did not, understand at all. So there's so much inaccurate info in regards to this stuff online. Right now, if you type in what's the median sales price in Charlotte, you're probably going to find something inaccurate. It's probably going to tell you like, 300,000, even though that's way outdated, but it's crazy. I'm a man and I'm 50 years old, and I have skimmed through many YouTube updates or shorts updates online. You have provided the most unclouded clarity in the Charlotte real estate update, so thank you. I really appreciate that. Like I said, I try to do the best possible thing I can in order for people to understand the market. And I started doing the market reports when the market was absolutely crazy, because there was people trying to buy a house and they were submitting offers 20, 30, 50,000 above asking price. And they're like, why can't I buy a house? I have money. I'm submitting these crazy above ask prices, and they just couldn't find a house. So obviously I'm dealing with this boots on the ground, dealing with my clients, whether they're buying or selling. So I just wanted to tell people, hey, this is what's going on. And ever since then, it's kind of what I'm doing with all the market reports. I'm currently renting at Ballantyne and would like to reach out to you after this live session and see how you can help me with my home purchase. Thank you. Yeah, reach out to me. My number, all my contact information is here on the channel. So send me a text message. We'll find a time where we can get together, or find a time we can talk over the phone. I can definitely help you out, kind of go over a couple different criteria and things. And if there's something that fits with some of the off-market houses and things like that I have access to, I'll definitely be able to send them your way. But I appreciate it. Guys, I really appreciate everybody coming on here. I'm very happy. Some amazing questions that, everybody's asked and things like that. But if you want to reach out to me personally, questions about zip codes, areas, neighborhoods, whatever the case is, you can always call, text, or email me anytime. Reach out to me. Thank you for stopping by again. I'm going to go ahead and take my little Luna here on a walk. She's starting to get anxious, and she keeps walking past the hallway over here looking at me like, hey, when are you going to take me? But reach out to me if there's anything I can ever do for you. Make sure you guys are subscribed to the channel. hit the like button. This video is going to be uploaded tomorrow. Market report comes out tomorrow. I have a new listing in Ballantyne, beautiful townhouse coming on the market next week, which I'll share with you guys as well. Appreciate you watching, and I will catch you on the next one. Take care. Bye.